Okay, this video is going to show you how to install a strut in a Range Rover L322. I've already taken the strut out, and there are already videos on the internet that you can watch on how to do that. But I'm going to focus this video on some of the things that you might come across that will be getting in the way of taking out the strut. For example, this is the anti-roll bar, and this is attached to the top of the strut. I'll show you the strut now that I took out in a second. But one of the things I found was the anti-roll bar, when it was attached, it was going in at an angle, and it was very hard to take this off the actual strut itself. And just on the side of this, you'll see there's a nut that you can actually get a spanner into. I think it's a 18mm spanner. Let me just check that. Yeah, it's an 18mm spanner. Now, it can only go in, obviously, in either that way or that way. So it's quite awkward to get to, particularly when you can't see it when the strut is actually on. But the only way I could get this off was to actually just unscrew it, because it was kind of cut into the strut itself. So you'll see that when I'm putting it back in. I use a jack stand here at the bottom just to support the actual wheel hub. If the hub was being held up by these, they'd probably break. So it's important to put a jack stand under there. At the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to jack up the car as well, because there's a lot of confusion on the internet of where to put the jack stands. The first thing is you need to have jack stands. You can't just use the standard jack that comes with the car to hold it up. It's very important that you jack it up. I first off jacked up the car using this hydraulic jack. I'm positioning that just at the far end of the sump. There's a bar which is part of the main under chassis, and I'm just lifting up with that, and then I put the jack stands right underneath, just like that there. There's a supporting bar. You can see it's going in at an angle. It's critical that you get that stable. So the other thing is that the bolts that hold on the strut to the hub, there's two pinholes here, and these bolts go through it. These are very difficult to get off. First off, the nut itself is torqued to very high specification, so it takes a lot of force to get that off. So you need to use plenty of that WD-40 or equivalent to make it work into freeing up those nuts. But once the nut is actually off, that's half the problem. The next problem is how do you actually get the bolt out? And in my instance, all I did is I freed it up a bit by turning it, but obviously turning it when it's in there is not going to bring it out. So it's just going to loosen it up a little bit, but I had to tap it out. But when you're tapping it out, just be careful that you don't ruin the tread, otherwise you're going to be in an awkward situation. So the strut itself, well, here are the two, the new one and the old one. The old one had a rip at the very bottom of it. I don't know if you can notice that there, but there's just a small hole which obviously destroyed it in terms of its functionality. And the new one is obviously identical to it. I got the same manufacturer. I didn't purchase the one directly from Range Rover. They just have crazy prices. They just double the price, and then the dealer marks up it again. So I got that from L4direct.com. It's a UK company, and found it very helpful. And I picked that up for, I don't know, 250 sterling or thereabouts, maybe a little bit more. And it got to me in a couple of days, which is great. So I'm about to put this in. Taking it out is obviously the reverse of putting it in, but I think the most important video is to see it going back into the car, and also to highlight some of the problems that you might come across. So this is the first time I've attempted doing it on this particular car, and I'm going to try and let the video run free so that if I come across any difficulties, I won't chop them out of the video. I'll let you see what obstacles you can come across, or what challenges you might come across. So let's get started. Well, first things first, I'm going to get my new strut. There's a couple of things you need to do, obviously, before you're putting this thing back in, or even taking it out in the first place. You need to make sure that the airbags are depressurized. Now, in my instance, I didn't have a problem with that because the bag was ripped and all the air was out of it anyway. But still at that, you need to disable the air suspension. And in the glove box, you can find your fuse board, and your fuse board should be the same as mine, but just double check it. But the air suspension fuse was fuse number 57. So once you take that out, the thing is not going to start inflating as you're installing it. So let's go ahead with that. I'm going to get the air strut itself. This one already comes with a section to put in your hose, but I'm going to reuse the hose that's on it, so I'm just going to use a size 12 wrench to take this off, because I don't need this particular one here. I'll just loosen it up a little bit and take it off the rest of my hand. Bit of air is after coming out of that. Just put that aside now. So up here in the car, there is the original one. So I'm going to be screwing this hose pipe directly into that hole. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get myself in a comfortable position, and I'm going to take down this hose pipe and screw it in. And fortunately for me, it's the same size. Right, just do it by hand first. Now I'm going to get my spanner. This is the size 12. I'll put it in the rest of the way. Now, just be careful when you're doing this so that you don't twist the pipe, because it's critical that you don't break the seal on this. If you do break the seal, it's not going to work for you. So when I was taking this off initially, it wasn't really that tight. So I'm not going to over tighten it when I'm putting it back. That feels just about right. Now, I don't think you can get access to this bolt once it goes in, so just make sure you don't do it too tight or do it too loose, because it's a disaster if that's going to happen. So that's in. Now, there's a gasket that goes on the top of this. This is the top of it, and that key pin, not the three threaded bolts, but the one of the nearest to us, has to go into a keyhole up there. You really need to be underneath the car to see where you're pushing this thing in, and in the interest of safety, I don't really like getting underneath cars, no matter how many jack stands are underneath them. So I'm trying to do it a little bit blindfolded here, but let me have another go. Seems promising. Get my bolt. You can feel them up here. Yeah, I can see them. Let's bring one of the bolts on. Right, tighten this up at the top. So if I had fixed the anti-roll bar to that first, there was no way could I get that up into it. So I think I'm going to try and fit the anti-roll bar last. So this is the anti-roll bar, and it needs to go into here. But there's a little bit of distance between the two, so if I fix this onto here, pop out the jack stand, I'll be able to lift it up a little bit more. So you can see this twists in line with the steering, and I need to get it into here. So the easiest thing to do first is maybe try and straighten this up a little bit in line. And let's see how this is going to go. Let's try and lift up the jack stand a bit. Got it up a bit more in line with where I want to go. Maybe one more click of the jack stand. There. And I'm going to turn this around now. A little bit high, but however, I should be able to push this up a bit. Yeah. So that's probably just the right height for me. Now, how do I get this in? Well, I don't think there's any other way of getting it in, but maybe lubricating it a little bit. Just want to give it a little bit of a helping hand. It's a bit rusty. Now, so we advise them to wear gloves just in case any sudden jerks. Hey, look at that! Now that was nice. Oh, pins go in next. This is looking pretty good now. So, it's a little bit high, but I'm sure I could just push this up. So what I'm going to do here is get a screwdriver of some description. So I'm going to put the screwdriver in here. And I'd say the thing needs to go up. That's nice. Okay. So let me just readjust this again using the screwdriver. Let me get the bolt, which I cleaned off earlier on. Just get a feel for where it is. It is. It's in quite nicely there. Need a bit of a shake. Go in. Pop on the first bolt. Make sure the threads are meeting correctly. There's no cross threading there, so you should be able to put it on quite a good bit before you need the wrenches. But anyway, that's on the next bolt. And get the screwdriver again, so just give it a little adjustment. Just moving this back and forward. So it goes in nicely. That's it. That's there. I give it a bit of a shake. And it's gone in. Most of the way. The main part of the thread is in, so it's going to give it a little tap without breaking the sensor. There. Top on the top as well. And put on the second bolt. Okay, next thing. How do I get this roll bar on? It was quite difficult to get this off. So it's probably equally as difficult to try and get it back on. But at least this time what I can do is I can drop this now off this jack stand. And that will pull down the shock a bit. Yeah, that's good. I've got a little more weight on this just to get it down a bit. Yeah. That's much better. But now I need to get the angle of this right, because the last time I had to unscrew it. And it was really difficult because of the angle that this is coming up to. So maybe, let me see what I can do here. Okay, let me get the angle straight, okay. That's more or less it, and the right direction. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to bring this shock down and push that in. Let's try to do with a bit of footwork. Now, look at that. That's a lot easier. It's all about a washer and one bolt. Right, so pop that on. So when you're trying to get this thing off in the first place, right, that's the trick. Put a bit of weight on this to bring down the shock. So, believe it or not, we're actually nearly there, despite having to torque the whole thing up. But I think the most difficult part of this job was actually getting that in correctly to the top of the car. And it's not that it's feeling that pipe is right now as well. It's not that it's difficult in the sense that it's precise. It's just the bloody weight of it is just incredibly heavy. So, right, let me get the right spanners now. So what you need for the back of this, I think it's an 18mm wrench. And remember, this is only going to fit on this nut in one particular way. There it is there. You know, it's not like a normal nut. There's only kind of like one flat area. So you need an 18mm on the back, open wrench, and an 18mm on the front. Okay, let's get these loosely tightened. Okay, right, so where are we at this stage? We're at the point where we are ready to torque these nuts and bolts. Okay. The good thing about this is that you don't actually have to do very much in terms of aligning these. There's only one setting when you're tracking these wheels at the front. Probably just adjust it that way. You don't have to do it. There's no give in here or anything like that, so there's no other fine adjustments that you do. It's just probably that bolt there. The point I'm making here is that if you put this in correctly, get those nuts properly torqued up, get this tube in here, connect it correctly, but as it's turning, it's not going to wreck and damage the tube. I'm going to check the other one to see how that's aligned there. This is kind of, I don't know, it doesn't seem to be fixed onto anything much, or a rim there. But I'll just check on the other side to make sure it lies the same. Once you make sure that these are all going to the correct place, that those cables are all nicely positioned back, you've got it torqued up, then the next thing to do, probably before you put on the wheel, is just to put back in the fuse into the air suspension and get some air into this, inflate it. You don't want to lower this wheel down while that's flat. Could damage it, possibly. I don't know. But anyway, they're always supposed to have air in it to start with. So, next step, getting the torque spanners. So, this is where the fun starts. When you're using a torque wrench, you need to be consistent. So go with a decent speed, you know. Now, seems okay. You can see it's quite a lot of torque needs to go into this. So I'm doing it kind of consistent, making sure. Now it's there, okay? So, seems to be it. We do the same to the bottom one now. Bottom one's going to be a little bit more difficult, so I don't have as much leverage. Oh, maybe it's okay. I'll go back quite a bit, but not forward too much. Let's see. Goodness me, is this tough or what? So there you have it. Those two bolts, according to this device, double checking, 160, 170, 174. So when I put the fuse back in, I was expecting that this would start to inflate. But obviously, because it was jacked up so high, the sensor that tells the system where the suspension is, whether it's up or down, was obviously in its maxed out because the wheels were being dropped. So nothing was going into this at all. So even though the compressor was pumping at the back, no air was going into this. So what I had to do is I had to raise it up a little bit, take out the jack stands, and start lowering it down almost to a normal level height. But obviously the jack stand, the hydraulic jack was holding the car up. And then I started messing around with the air settings, raising it and lowering it, and then bang, it just started to come into effect and started pumping it up. So I lowered it down. So it obviously needs to be down at a certain level before that thing goes in. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but it just appeared to be that way. So now it's actually working perfectly. I have it raised up, but the suspension is in its max height, and that inflated all the way up, and it's working perfectly. So all I need to do now is tighten up these nuts when I lower it down, and we should be ready to go. I checked the tube on the other side, and it seems to be just going from just inside here and a short little run up to the place where it attaches onto the airbag. But this one, for some reason, there seems to be a lot of slack in it, and I can't seem to push it back into it. But it seems to be pretty well protected up here. It's on a kind of a little ridge, and it's pressed out. And I know the wheel will be turning back and forward, but I don't think that's going to have much of an effect on it, because there's still a little bit of slack there. And I don't think it's going to get caught up in knots or anything like that. But I tried to push it back in and have it identical to the way it is on the other side, but that just wasn't working. So I've got air in my airbag. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them. If you have any comments or any corrections you think should go into this uninstalling or installing of an air strut, let me know. But the main purpose of this video is just to show, you know, if you have never done this before, like I haven't done it before in this car, this is what you're going to be faced with. But it is worth trying it yourself, provided that you have all of the safety equipment in place. Cost-wise, you'll need to get yourself a torque wrench. It's crucial that your torque does it correctly, and that'll cost about, you know, 100 and, in my case, €109 from Halfords. And obviously you have to have the right tools. You know, it doesn't take that much, but you know, if you don't have any of those tools and you start adding them all up, it's going to be still well under what it would cost you to get it done professionally. And to be honest with you, I don't think there's an awful lot of professionalism that needs to be known to put in one of these struts. They're very straightforward. So I highly recommend it. Okay, so good luck, and thanks for watching.